I really think that I speak for a lot of people when I say that I did not like Animaniacs 2020. The 5th season of Animaniacs was so terrible that the internet, a lot of people try to treat it like it's a completely different series and is no way connected to the original. And now, in this review, I'm going to show you how good this could have been had they just, written new stories but changed nothing by reviewing issue 18 of Pinky and the Brain. Yes, this got a comic book. So did Animaniacs. And this issue, like Animaniacs 2020, has an anime parody. And believe me when I say, the people who wrote this comic book adaptation, they knew how to essentially, they did it way better than those buffoons at Hulu. The first part of this 2-chapter comic is essentially a Gundam / Robotech parody called Brain Tech, where in the year 2060, a whole ton of alien spaceships have come crashing down to Earth, and one was taken in by Acme Labs, where Pinky and the Brain got their hands on it. And Brain, he's gonna try and use this to take over the world. They take off, and Brain and Pinky have a little bit of dialogue, which really showcases that this comic book adaptation had the same exact level of humor as the show did when Brain says, "Now is the perfect time to try out my new android helmsman, Mr. Tamagotchi. Take us into orbit to intercept the intruder." And Mr. Tamagotchi, or whatever he's supposed to be called, a obvious parody of a Tamagotchi, a digital pet, a Tamagotchi, parody of a Tamagotchi, says, "Change my diaper, take me for a walk." Pinky looks at Brain, who then responds by saying, "He requires a lot of attention, but it was either him or a beeper." And as they go into space, we instantly get a Star Wars reference, as Pinky brings up a small moon, and Brain says, "That's no moon, Pinky. That's a giant hamster ball." And in this instance, we are introduced to the villain of this story, Captain Snowlock. Yes, they made Snowball into a parody of space pirate Captain Hairlock. They have dialogue, and then they fire at the giant hamster ball multiple times, and it clearly does not seem to be working. But they eventually hit the weak spot through dumb luck. Brain even admits that. And then they run in to suit up into their Gundam mechs, and they leave the Tamagotchi parody in charge. Trust me, this'll come up later. So anyways, they jump in to suit up and put on their giant robot suit mech armor things. Brain and Pinky then fly out, and a fight between them and Snowball breaks out. Pinky crashes into the giant hamster ball during the fight, which is now crashing down to Earth. He actually does try to keep it from crashing into Earth, and it's headed towards a sports stadium, and ends up landing in the hand of a Las Vegas cowboy sign as Pinky falls off it. During the Brain Snowball fight, Snowball punches Brain, sending him crashing down to Earth and landing in Tokyo, where they make a bunch of references where Brain says, "Oof, luckily I missed the buildings. Those people have been through enough. What with the earthquakes and giant lizards and all." But then Pinky comes in to help and crashes into a building, which all crash into each other like dominoes. And then Brain says, "Of course, giant lizards and earthquakes have nothing on Pinky." So then Snowball basically intends to end this with chainsaw hands, and Brain breaks out his secret weapon, a Swiss Army knife, which he then uses the old magnifying glass sun trick to give Snowball a hot foot, or in this case, a hot butt, pun intended. Retreating defeated, Snowball threatens to come back, and Brain points out that it'll be in about 76 years. Then, with the battle over, Pinky and the Brain stand victorious. Brain notices that the Akame Moto is coming down at a rate that could be considered too fast, and then he asks Pinky if he remembered to feed Mr. Tamagotchi, and Pinky admits that he did not, causing the ship to fall on the giant robots. And then we get the iconic ending where Brain basically brings up tomorrow night. Pinky asks what they're going to do tomorrow night, and Brain replies to him, "Try to take over the world." The next chapter of this anime parody is essentially a parody of Ranma 1.5. And it starts with Pinky and the Brain on their way to a martial arts tournament. And the prize is a chain of dojos. And to make sure Brain wouldn't be able to lose, he goes to the Palace of Cursed Pools. And unlike most anime parodies, this one actually comes with a set of rules. You see, if someone apparently the pools are all cursed because someone drowned in them. Enter the pool and you instantly gain the characteristics of whoever drowned in it. Brain wants to use the pool cursed by the drowned martial arts master to gain the skills to win the tournament. And here's what I meant when I said that this anime parody actually has rules attached to it. Warm liquid will break the curse, and cold liquid will essentially reactivate it. But it's also funny, as that sign was put up by management, which kind of shows that this is a parody, because what kind of field chock full of cursed pools possessed by the people who drowned in them would essentially have a sign like that unless it was some kind of business, which would make it even funnier. Imagine a business where you could, say, jump into this pool and then gain the characteristics of a dead car salesman, or a dead late-night talk show host. That is funny. So anyways, Brain then jumps in as Pinky's reading the sign and noticed that there was a bush covering part of the sign. He pulls the bush down and reveals that the pool is the guy who drowned there was a master of martial arts, but he had a split personality. So anyways, Pinky jumps right into the cursed pool in an attempt to save Brain. And eventually, Brain jumps out of the pool as a martial arts master. And I can only assume that this is how Renma was turned into a girl and how his dad was turned into a panda by means of cursed pool in Renma 1.5. So anyways, Brain walks around looking for Pinky and then starts hearing him in his head. Okay, so not only has it established that Pinky and Brain were fused together by means of the curse, i.e., when exposed to warm liquid, Pinky will be in control, and while exposed to cold liquid, Brain will be in control. But it also establishes that when one is in control, the other can read his mind and go through his thoughts and memories. So anyways, Brain shows up for the tournament, and when the check-in guy asks him his name, Brain says, "You may call me future ruler of the world." And the check-in guy says, "Already taken, choose another." And Brain just says, "The brain." Now that was kind of a funny bit of dialogue. Brain and the others are locked in this cage, and the announcer gives the rules. It'll be a fight to the finish, and last man standing will win the chain of dojos. And when the tournament begins, one of the vendors accidentally pours hot tea on Brain, putting Pinky in control, and he runs from these guys. Also, they think his name is Branky because he was introducing himself during the switch. And as Pinky's running, it's actually funny when Brain tells Pinky it's up to him, and he says, "But I'm no Bruce Lee, Brain. I'm not even a Sarah Lee." A vendor accidentally, gets soda on Brain, and he's restored and begins to dominate the tournament. Pretty much until hot soup is accidentally dunked on him, putting Pinky in control to fight these ninjas. The ninjas attack, but as Pinky is able to dodge their attacks being so small, they end up accidentally punching each other out. A tactic that Brain planned, and Pinky was upset because Brain tricked him, and this is actually hilarious when Pinky says, "Oh no, I will not lift a finger to help you now," and Brain just says, "If you say so, Pinky, but considering the circumstances, you might want to change your mind." As Pinky looks up at all of the strong guys in the competition ready to pummel him. The guy who works at the tournament basically throws cool water on them to help them cool down, switching Pinky out for Brain, who, in the moment of, standing there being surprised, gets walloped by the competition. Brain charges up, raging, ready to attack. And these guys are terrified. Brain is about to land an amazing jump kick when suddenly one of the vendors accidentally splashes Brain with hot sake, which switches control back to Pinky, who ricochets off the chest of one of the combatants. And as Pinky runs away scared, Brain finally says it when he screams out, "Anyone ever tell you that you have the clumsiest vendors in the world here?" So anyways, Brain noticed a bucket of cool water and tells Pinky to jump into it as he jumps, runs away, and dodges the competition, and Brain regains control. There's one guy left, and he's pretty bruised up from taking down the other combatants. And as Brain is about to attack, he slips in a puddle and falls right into soup that was neither hot nor cold, which essentially broke the curse, but unfortunately attracted a bunch of dogs who are now chasing Pinky and Brain away with the desire to eat them. And Pinky asks what they're gonna do tomorrow night, because Brain said they had to prepare for it, and he says, try to take over the doggone world. In short, Pinky and the Brain, issue 18, is essentially a very good example of what Animaniacs 2020 had the potential to be and what it should have been. And believe me, there are reviews of Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain comics in the works that are essentially, like I said, what Animaniacs 2020 should have been. And I'm going to end this review with saying this guy here, who fought in the tournament, looks an awful lot like Goku. I don't know if it's a actual reference or trying to be kind of like a cameo, but I like it. This is probably what Goku would look like if we got an American cartoon or an American anime inspired cartoon that was essentially an adaptation of Dragon Ball Z. If that happened, I know it would be a disaster, and whoever made it would completely fuck it up. But this is probably what Goku would look like in that medium/show.